My name is Abhay, and I share conversations with talented and interesting individuals linked to the global Indian and South Asian community. It's informal and informative, adding insights to our evolving cultural expressions, where each person can proudly say, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing." Hi everyone, on this episode of Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing, a conversation with United States Congressman Shri Thanedar. Stay tuned. So in taking ownership of my background and who I am, where I was raised and where I call home, and why I'm an active participant in my community and neighborhood, I'm really proud to call myself an Indian American. Sure, there are lots of other components and labels to my identity, but I do take a lot of pride and comfort in knowing that my own existence has been possible because of the ongoing success of the American experiment. And speaking of experimenting, thank you so much for listening to this and sharing it with your friends and family, for rating, downloading, and subscribing wherever you get your podcasts, and for following us on social media at Dr. Abhay. Now, while there's much to grapple with as far as repairing and mending and dismantling, the American experiment and experience has largely been fueled and built on immigrant stories of resilience and self-determination, of seeking and finding opportunity, of persistence for success, and of dedication to a cause. And among these signature American stories is that of newly elected United States Congressman Shri Thanedar. Shri is originally from Belgavi in Maharashtra, India, where he grew up in a large, poor family, working long hours and many odd jobs to help make ends meet while still in school. He came to the US to Ohio to get his PhD in chemistry, working and then embarking on a career in entrepreneurship in Michigan. And like many immigrants, his story has been fascinating, heartbreaking, and with the many peaks and valleys of his own American journey, from sustaining financial hardships and poverty to operating a successful business enterprise and creating hundreds of jobs, from personal and family tragedy as his first wife suffered from depression and ultimately took her own life, leaving Shri to raise his sons, to remarrying and savoring the joys of family life as a husband, father, and grandfather. By the way, if you have a chance, please read Shri's amazing memoir, both in Marathi as Hi Shri Chi Ichha and in English as The Blue Suitcase. Now, several years ago, Shri retired from his business activities and, inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., turned his attention to a life of public service, aiming to fight against social, racial, and economic injustice and create new ladders of opportunity for communities in Michigan. After an unsuccessful bid for governor in 2018, Shri was elected to the Michigan State House in 2020, and this past November was elected to the United States Congress as the Democratic representative of Michigan's 13th district, serving portions of Detroit and its suburbs. We talked about the road he's traveled, about his priorities and optimism as an elected leader, about how a district with a majority of Black voters were compelled by Shri's values and vision. But I first wanted to know whether he noted any real surprises or lessons while campaigning.
Well, this is an exciting time. As you know, back in 2018, I ran for governor of Michigan. And that was right after running small businesses for 25 years. So I thought if I can run a successful business, I could run a state. And that's the reason why I decided to run for governor. And I did not win that election, even though more than 200,000 people chose me to be their governor.
Yeah.
But then after that, I said, I'm not going to go back to business. There's a reason why I entered public service, and that's to help people, help others achieve their American dream like I have been able to achieve mine. So I became a state representative in the Michigan House for the last 2 years. And then when the congressional position opened up, I felt that this will allow me to serve even more people. I represent now 750,000 people in my district. And so with that, I ran for this election. There were 8 other candidates who ran against me. It was a very, very hard fought election. I had to campaign all across the district. It's a very diverse district.
Yeah.
And we succeeded barely. We got about 28% of the votes, and my opponent, closest opponent, got 23%. And I learned that what matters is people's trust.
Mm.
And the more I told them about who I am, not only my successes, but a lot of my failures and concerns, and what my passion about helping others, my struggles through poverty growing up, the hardship I had when I lost my first wife and mother to my children to mental health related illness, and the times when I raised my young boys as a single father.
Sure.
So the more people knew about me, and the hardship that I have overcome, the more they felt trust in me, even though I look very different. This
Right.
is a 60% African American district. I look different. I spoke differently. I'm an immigrant. Came when I was 24 years old from a country far away, and yet the people trusted me, and that meant a lot to me.
Yeah, and I wonder if the more your vulnerabilities and your transparency were obvious to them, that it became sort of a nice human connection for more and more people as they got to know you better.
That's right. Yeah, and there is not a lot of trust in the political process.
Right.
In
Yeah.
fact, the approval rating for Congress is about 18%. So, people haven't had the trust in the political system. Many people have given up on the fact that this political system can be equitable, make a change and make a difference in their lives.
Right.
And people are always looking for somebody they can trust, that who is in it for a good reason and not to just enrich or be famous, but actually want to help people and make a difference in people's lives.
I imagine that in that same sentiment, the victory, especially given the backdrop of running for governor in public service as a state elected representative, and now the victory in Congress, it must have surely lifted a weight off your shoulders. But now there's the weight, of course, of executing and acting and really delivering on behalf of your constituents. Is that pivot now itself a challenge to now deliver? And is it the product perhaps of the same way that you've been able to garner your experiences in business and even in running a campaign?
Absolutely. Now, I'm one member in a house of 435 representatives from all over America. We have a two-party system currently in the US House. The other party has won a narrow majority, so
Yeah.
they control a lot of the processes. So, given that, it's a challenge. It's a responsibility that I don't take it lightly. At the same time, uh, is there's a lot that needs to be done. Our infrastructure is in bad shape. Our education system uh, does not provide the same quality education uh, in my district as some of the affluent suburbs have. The affluent suburbs have so much better schooling system,
Yeah.
and that should not be the case. And so there is a lot that needs to be done. And now I feel, now that I'm got elected, I feel this tremendous responsibility to
Yeah.
deliver for my district.
How did you how did you feel on election day when you secured the victory? With this same sense of responsibility, I imagine there was also a lot of pride and affirmation of all the hard work that you put in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was grateful to the people that supported me. I was grateful to my support of my family, my two sons. My wife is always with me, supporting me, attending campaign events, even though she's not a political person. she supported me because this is something that I'm so passionate about. And when I got attacked, politically attacked, there was a lot of outside money, dark money came into our elections, and millions of dollars were spent supporting my opponent or opposing me. And there were a lot
Yeah,
of negative television advertising. And one of the advertisement where my son made an appeal actually was something that people thought was very genuine, and that really helped my campaign. So the support of my family, support of my staff and team, and the support of people, uh,
sure.
that even though we both, the people have, our experiences are different, we grew up differently. I have a different heritage, and yet the trust that people showed across the district was amazing and very humbling.
They say that your first day in office is your first day of your next campaign. I'm curious, and obviously that's a long ways away, but given the toxic nature of running a campaign and being in office and going through that very, very rigorous but incredibly arduous process, is there something to be said about how to run a campaign and how to do so in a sort of clean and not negative way that you picked
Yeah,
up in particular?
well, what helped me was being myself.
Right,
Going, I would go to places where I could meet voters. So I would go to a free concert in a park where I would meet in a matter of 3, 4, 5 hours. I would go and have conversation as people are listening to the concert on the lawns. Um, and people often would ask me, where is your entourage? Where is your staff? And
right.
I would have no staff. I would just go there alone and spend hours meeting people, listening to people. And, people talked about crime and how unsafe they feel as taking their children to school or going to grocery shopping,
Mm,
how the decades of racism and how that has affected how difficult it is to get a mortgage
right.
or own a home. So I heard a lot of things from people one on one, having conversations. Some people wanted to take pictures and selfies, and some wanted to just talk, and some wanted to give just a hug.
Yeah.
But the warmth that I felt, the things that I heard, that made my resolve to be in public service even stronger.
And I'm imagining that resolve, that human connection, probably makes it all worth it. And now in the delivery process, you mentioned trying to eradicate hunger and alleviate poverty and provide lead-free water, bolstering infrastructure that badly needs it. You know, in your business experience, in your experience in the Michigan House, what's been a secret in trying to prioritize these? Because there's just so much work to be done. And in Congress, where everything seemingly is always a priority.
Well, growing up in poverty, what helped me most was education.
Yeah,
And it is the quality of education, making education affordable, accessible. Not just 4 year college, not everybody wants to go to a 4 year college, but making available the trade skills,
mm,
skills that people can use to get high paying jobs. Just, it's the education
mm,
that we need to provide to our children. You mentioned you work with young children.
yeah,
3 year old, 4 year olds, they have such a tremendous power to absorb knowledge. And that is the time often a single parent working, trying to take care of the family, is not able to take care of the children often.
right.
And we need to, you know, give our young children skills in math and reading early in their life. We need to invest in good quality education. We need to make childcare affordable so parents can work.
Yeah,
We need to provide, universal pre-K, preschool, so kids get good education.
paid family
Uh,
leave. Yeah.
Yeah, paid family leave. So things that needs to be done to help working families and fighting for working families, and the compassion
Yeah.
and the vision to long-term vision. If we invest in our children now, it will pay dividends. Not only it's a morally right thing to do, but even from a dollars and cents point of view, uh, you know, our economy will grow so much if we invest in trade education, if we make public education cost free, if we give our children early, universal pre-K, early childhood education. There's a lot of things we could do in education as an investment, that will grow our economy multifold.
You're listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. After a quick break, we'll come back to our conversation with Congressman Shri Thanedar. Stay tuned. Conversation. It's the antidote to apathy and the catalyst for relationships. I'm Abhay Dandekar, and I share conversations with global Indians and South Asians so everyone can say, trust me, I know what I'm doing. New episodes weekly, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Hey, this is Cal Penn. I'm an actor, author, former public servant, and you're listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing.
You're listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. Let's rejoin our conversation now with United States Congressman Shri Thanedar. Even with that, prioritizing education and all the things that therefore blossom from that, sometimes even as we fight and advocate and promote these kinds of priorities, we don't always win. And in the sense that there's where compromise is involved. How do you aim to handle reaching across the aisle and working through setbacks or losses and compromising? And how do you hope your constituents will respond to sometimes not always winning?
Well, especially in a divided government, especially when we have two-party system, especially when my party is in minority,
Yeah,
we cannot always make big, bold changes, and we have to accept that. And but we have to keep fighting and keep moving forward, because just because we are in a minority is not enough of a reason for us to wait and do nothing. That's not an option. So we got to work with the other side. We got to constantly find ways to find common ground and fight. And I want to make sure that my colleagues on the across the aisle understand the issues that are faced in my district. They understand that it's not partisan politics, education,
sure.
making sure no child sleeps and goes to bed hungry.
Yeah,
Having grown up sometime not knowing where my next meal is going to come from, I'm particularly sensitive to childhood hunger. I'm particularly sensitive to homeless. Every person must have a roof over their head, be able to take care of their healthcare needs so that they don't have to be worried that if they come across a major health issue, that they don't go bankrupt.
yeah,
And these are lifetime experiences. There are times when I couldn't afford an apartment and I slept in public buildings. I slept in my car. So I've dealt with this
yeah,
personally.
yeah,
And when I see an affluent country like ours, where
yeah.
there are so many homeless people, veterans, uh, suffering mental illness, not getting enough help, uh, people living uh, under the bridge, out without a home, that bothers me. And that's something that we need to change.
I imagine that your constituents will hopefully see your energy and your transparency and all your vulnerabilities and your story, and that'll resonate with them as you continue to fight for this. Your story is so remarkable, and definitely from Belgavi and then your days as a student, the days you describe with so much resilience, certainly in India and then emigrating here. those formative experiences that you talk about, the ways in which you can in fact relate to so many who are going through this kind of strain or these kinds of painful experiences and turning them into success. How will these formative experiences that you experience as growing up or in India or even as a student here translate to the success and the resilience that's needed in Congress?
Well, again, like my mother told me growing up, that you never give up,
Yeah.
especially when things get hard. You stay with your goals, believe in yourself, trust in yourself. Self respect and self confidence is essential in getting things done.
Mm.
You need to believe in the cause that you're fighting. You always need to remember, why are you doing this? Why are you in public service? What's your objective? What's your goals? And never depart from that. You know, constantly focus on that. There's a lot of distractions, but it's important to remember the goals, and important always to remember. And I always grade myself on different areas, different goals that I have. I've set goals for my health. I've set goals for my family and relationship with my family, and I've set goals for public service. I've set goals for helping others, and every month I rate myself like a
Mm.
hard teacher would do.
Yeah.
And I look at each of the areas and see how well I did and where do I need to improve. And I'm constantly focused, keeping a balance in my life and constantly focused on what's important.
I wanted to ask you this. I mean, it sounds like that kind of self awareness and that trust and that confidence can often be very infectious with your team, with those around you, and definitely contributes to your leadership style. I imagine that for your leadership style, are there also cultural aspects of being an Indian American and the aspects of your journey as an immigrant that have contributed to what your leadership style currently is?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I look at this country, and the greatness of this country is in our diversity.
Yeah.
This is a country of immigrants. People have come here from all over the world. So the greatness of America is in its diversity.
Yeah.
And having struggled through life and dealt with uh, difficulties that I see others are experiencing, that fight, that never giving up is important, because every person wants to do good for himself or herself. People are not looking for handouts. People really want opportunity. People want the skills so that they can get a good paying job or start a business. They need a little seed capital. So the government's role is to create an environment where people succeed.
Yeah.
Because people want to succeed and people want to work hard, but we need to ensure that we have a system that doesn't discriminate based on race or based on who you love or who you pray.
Yeah.
It's a system that's fair and provides equal opportunity for all of us, and closes this wealth gap. Today, 60 families own more wealth than bottom half of Americans,
Right.
160 million of Americans. And this
Yeah.
kind of disparity is something that is a part of our system. And we need to close that wealth gap through creating business opportunities, promoting entrepreneurship, giving skills to people. And
Do,
that's what I want to work on.
do you think your Indian American background and backdrop as an immigrant, do you think that that magnifies your own experiences in being able to relate to that and in some ways recognize those issues a little bit more clearly, perhaps?
Uh, it's more about being an immigrant, having seen the world, lived in different cultures,
Yeah.
uh, met people of different background, different religions, and different uh, ethnicity, different, so that kind of made having experienced that life experiences broadened my mind and broadened my horizon. It opened up to, for example, the issues the LGBTQ faces.
Yeah.
And I became more sensitive to the needs of people and of different religions. I became more sensitive to people who have different lifestyles. I became more accepting, and that's more has to do with my own experiences in life.
Yeah.
And the struggles that I have, and the people that I have met, and who have influenced me.
You'll be the fifth US Congress member, proudly, of Indian origin and background. I'm curious what you think this means to the greater Indian American or South Asian American community as it goes forward and becomes an even, as it goes forward in the general larger American community.
Well, look, I came to America when I was 24 years old, primarily for economic empowerment, primarily to pull my family out of poverty through business ownership, getting education. So many of the immigrants, including the Indian Americans, come here because of economic benefits, and nothing wrong with that. But then once we achieve those economic goals, at some point, accumulating wealth beyond what your needs are doesn't really make any sense. And we are part of this great nation we call America.
Yeah.
And part of the success of America is not only the economic power of, but also our social power. And it's important for immigrants to be part of this mainstream, not just becoming good professionals. We have great doctors, we have great business people, we have great teachers, educators in the Indian American community, in the immigrant community. But at the same time, we need to get into the mainstream in the political process. Through government, we can change lives of people. We need to be more giving to the community. Like when I went across Michigan and I saw people were deprived of the American dream because of racism.
Yeah.
People were deprived of the American dream because of economic disparities. It is time for us to not just take from this country, but also give to this country and give to the people of this great country. And that is what I think needs to happen even more. It's happening to some extent, but it needs to happen even more.
I wonder if that idea of being an immigrant, being an Indian American, being a South Asian American, and giving, I wonder if that right now is really the kind of patriotism that this country needs.
Absolutely. And, in my case, I felt that I owe that to this great country of ours.
Yeah.
That's a debt that I owe for what this country has offered me.
Sure.
I came with nothing. I grew up, across the world, and yet this country, welcomed me, provided opportunities for me, and I felt that it is my turn now to give back.
You're listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. After a quick break, we'll come back to our conversation with Congressman Shri Thanedar. Stay tuned. Every story told is a lesson learned, and every lesson learned is a story waiting to be told. I'm Abhay, and I share conversations with global Indians and South Asians so everyone can say, trust me, I know what I'm doing. New episodes weekly, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tam France, and you are listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing.
You're listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. Let's rejoin our conversation now with United States Congressman Shri Thanedar. As someone who describes this so beautifully and has written about it, you've lived through these experiences. You serve neighborhoods in the communities of Detroit, Michigan, that, as you mentioned, are predominantly and culturally very, very rich in African American and Black American history. What has compelled African American voters to connect and engage and in some ways feel so resonant with your story, with an Indian American, an immigrant, an entrepreneur? Why has this been so compelling? Why has your story been so compelling in the Black American community in Detroit?
Because, my struggles aren't different from their struggles. Now, I didn't experience racism as much as many of my African brothers and sisters have. But when I first came to this country and I wanted to open a bank account, and I went to a bank, this was 1979, and a bank officer told me, she looked at me and she said, they don't like people like me opening bank accounts in their bank. And later on, I wanted to start my own business and I needed a very small loan to buy some equipment. And I went to 6 different banks, made my case why I need this loan and why I would do good in business. And they turned it down. They turned 6 different banks, turned my loan down without giving a reason. So I've seen this access to capital, lack of access to capital, lack of access to education, good quality education, and how low income neighborhoods suffer through that. And, I felt a connection. And perhaps the people of Detroit felt that connection with me.
I so enjoyed reading He Shri Chicha and also The Blue Suitcase. And there's a line in the book that really spoke to me that says, quote, maybe there is freedom in starting with nothing. And I was wondering about this. I'm curious if this has been sort of a mantra when problem solving, both personally and professionally for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I had nothing to lose.
Right.
I was at the bottom, and the hard work, the dedication, and not giving up, and just marching towards my goals, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how many failures I have. I slipped and fell and got up and kept going. And that's the spirit, that ultimately helped me. And that's the spirit that I see in my communities. But it's the government job to provide those opportunities, remove the obstacles, whether it is the racial obstacles, racism, or hatred. I feel there is no place for hate in America.
Yeah.
And we need to provide opportunity for people to live the life that they want to live, pray the God they want to pray, love the person they want to love. And we need to create opportunities regardless of the differences among us.
Almost, again, starting with nothing can be so liberating, and therefore try and fill some of the voids that we have. Now, you spoke earlier about trust, and now as a leader for your constituents, as a member of Congress, how do you hope to continue to, in some ways, cultivate that trust and grow it and nurture that trust, not just with the constituents who voted for you, but to your colleagues and to those who may not necessarily agree with the things that you tend to stand for?
And it's only through my work, only through my passion to serve, and my sincerity, and my true intentions, honest intentions. Only through my work and my dedication and my passion to serve that I can, show and prove who I am and why am I in public service? What do I want to achieve? And what motivates me to get up every day and work for the people? And when people, my colleagues, see that, I make friends, I make become a part of a team to make things happen, because ultimately one representative, one person cannot do things on his or her own. I need to build a team of like-minded members of Congress to move a bill to make a difference in people's lives. And that's what I do every day.
I know you recently went to Washington for some orientation as a newly elected Congress member. I'm curious what your reflections were from those days. Was there a sense of history? Was there a sense of real patriotic pride? How did those weeks feel to you?
I was in the well of the Congress, well of House of Representatives, and Nancy Pelosi, the legendary Speaker of the House. We had a lot of time with her. We had one day, Speaker Pelosi spontaneously said to us, "Follow me," and as we followed her, she took us to the well of the House. And she was like maybe 4 feet away from me, and just a few of us there. It must be like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And she started telling about this great institution and people before us, the great legends before us, and the monumental decisions and bills that were passed in that house that changed people's lives forever.
Yeah.
And listening to all of that, and now I am part of this group of people, and the responsibility and possibility of changing people's lives through the work that I would do in that chamber, that was all very, very overwhelming. And me, of all the people, the person who had nothing, who was born so far away, to be there in that role to make a difference for the people. I felt a tremendous sense of gratitude to my district, the people who elected me, and I felt a tremendous sense of responsibility that I need to deliver. I need to make a difference. There are people in my district, in my hometown, waiting for me to deliver, and I need to work and provide that.
You're a father, you're a husband, a grandfather. What brings you joy and optimism as you embark on this term as a congressman?
Well, just making a difference in people's lives, an opportunity to fight for them, an opportunity to impress upon my colleagues that there are a number of issues, problems that we can solve that aren't Republican problems. They aren't democratic issues. These are universal issues. These are American issues. These are issues all of America needs. And we need to work together, come together, and find common ground and make a difference in people's lives.
Well, Congressman Thanedar, thank you so much. We're so proud of all your achievements and are looking forward to so much more of your contributions. We really appreciate you coming on with us and hope we can chat with you again down the road.
Thank you, Abhay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Congressman Thanedar. My only request is to please help find a better name for the Jaipal, Krishnamurti, Bera, Thanedar, and Khanna group than the Samosa Caucus. Really anything. The Kabaddi 5, or DC Dishao, or maybe just JBKTK. Till next time, I'm Abhay Darndekar.